who will dig into the core of the C class. With us, there is Valeria Visentin too. She works in marketing and communication, and she will help us during this meeting. Now, just to give you a snapshot of my company, Devoto Design is a family business made up of a team of over 50 people based in Italy, nearby Rome, and with 2 offices in Miami, Florida, for managing projects within the United States, and in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, for managing the growing Middle East market. Devoto Design was born in the 70s from the vision of my parents. Initially started as a small artisan workshop. It immediately stood out for its ability of offering innovative solutions and at the same time taking care of millworks. This project immediately caught the attention of great architects, starting with Paolo Portoghesi, who commissioned Devoto Design with the incredible opportunity of collaborating on the construction of Great Mosque of Rome. Can you imagine the charm of being able to collaborate on a carpentry for a mosque in the Città Eterna, the capital of the Christianity? It's a big deal. Devoto Design is now in its 2nd generation, thanks to my architecture education at Roma Tre University in Rome, complemented by my exciting university experience in Chile at the Escuela Superiore de Arquitectura of Valparaíso. In fact, it will be much easier for me to speak in Spanish today, but anyway, thanks to my sister Cecilia, who joined the company managing the operational part, the company developed into a structured design and build firm for bespoke interior. Today, we manage projects on global scale, having the privilege of collaborating with architects such as Zaha Hadid, Massimiliano Fuxas, Richard Meyer, Jean Nouvel, Kengo Kuma, just to name a few. Gaining their trust and giving shape to their extraordinary ideas, resulting in a common design and architectural achievements. Now, to get to the heart of our C class and introduce parametric mastery at its best, we will unveil some groundbreaking insights about the parametric design of complex surfaces using 2 compelling case studies: the Maxi Museum of Rome and its out-of-scale desk, and the Vertigo restaurant at the Banyan Tree Hotel in Doha, Qatar. Are you ready to discover how parametrization is revolutionizing architectural design? Without further ado, I'm passing the mic to my colleague Marina, who will highlight the use of parametric design for these 2 projects, where we had the deal with double curving surfaces. Thank you, Marina. See you later.
Thank you, Marianna, and welcome to all of you in this CE class. As Marianna said, we will talk about two different projects, and the first one, Maxi Museum project, has actually little to do with parametrization, but we believe it is important to talk about it because it was our first experience with such complex surface and organic shapes. This project taught us how to look at complex geometry in a new way, how to turn it into simple and construable sub-elements. We believe it is essential to talk about at first of the Maxi Museum to better understand the second one, the Vertigo restaurant in Doha, where parametrization and engineering reached a higher levels of complexity. So let's start talking about the first project, so the Maxi Museum, where we faced the 3D complex design and shape at first. So we are in Rome at the Maxi Museum of Modern Arts, designed by the beloved Zaha Hadid in 2010. We feel honored. We had the chance to work with such a genius on such a masterpiece as this museum, entirely designed by the architect. And we feel so lucky we had the chance to meet her and her team. Today, the focus will be on the archive room desk that in our company we used to call the big ear because of its shape. We are talking about a desk that is 14 meters in length with variable height and a surface curving in more directions that gives these items a very plastic look. So in this case, we received some sketches, first sketches, some starting 3D model where the shape, the curves, and the lines were already visible and the level of complexity was already detectable. The first question was the choice of the finishing materials to reach the expected look the desk needed to have. The designer's intent was that of obtaining a monolith, a one-piece desk without any visible joints and a consistent surface, but also with all the office functions the desk required, because we are talking about an archive desk. So at first, immediately, we excluded the use of the acrylic resin sheets because of the shapes and the curves that were not simple and not easy to manage with the basis of straight sheets of solid surface in your hand. So try for a second to imagine how many molds and vacuum curbing operations and pieces we would have processed. So let me say, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet gel coat. So this was our idea. Well, I'm pretty sure that in Miami this product is well known because you know, gel coat comes from the nautical construction world. So the final effect is like a very matte, solid surface. But through a spray technique in terms of application on a support of fiberglass and resin. So in this way, we manufactured a 3D print mock-up of the desk to be sure about the shapes and the curves where the desired ones, sorry. This scale mock-up was produced using the same elements and technologies of the big desk in the real scale. So an internal structural core of solid wood panels and a gel coat external matte finish. Well, when Zadid saw it, we were very, very scared about her reaction, but all she said was a little more pot-bellied here. So after this finally very positive feedback, we produced a final 3D model and then divided the desk, the big desk, into 3 subparts, 3 elements. Each part was produced as a final assembly of horizontal stripes, slats of wood, detected from an horizontal cutting of the 3D model itself. This is the level of parametrization we are talking about for this project. So after this, we have the internal core of the item in timber in order not to be too heavy, with an empty structure inside made of coated pieces of wood, properly CNC worked and numbered according to their position in the structure in order to give the empty space and shape compliant with the special fittings the desk required. So we are talking about doors with locks, drawers, and since we are talking about an archive room desk, after all, this is very important details to have in attention. So please pay attention to this image. Okay, I said that we divided the big structures in three big parts, sub-parts. In each part, you can see very clearly the horizontal lines of the woods and the random juxtaposition of the joint points between one piece of wood and another, okay, in vertical, exactly in vertical. So this is the result. We can consider this as a result of the parametrization and tessellation in layers of wood of each part. And also this imagine this is giving you an impression about, an idea about the big dimensions we are talking about, because you are in this moment on video only one part, sub-part, and you can compare the height of the people, of the carpenters beside this. So once the three wooden big sections were completed and properly equipped, the entire external surface was covered with a combination of layers of fiberglass and resin in alternated progression to reach the due final thickness. Then comes gel coat. So this liquid product stiffens through a given application process, providing a robust and a sturdy surface. As you can see, we sprayed it directly on the wool external surface of each sub-part. Obviously, for the dimensions and for the spray application of the gel coat, we use the external spaces of our factory. As you can see, arranged the elements of special metal trolleys in order to move the object according to the needs of the spray of the gel coat application. Then the other step of the production process was the sanding process. So the sanding process on the gel coat surfaces directly, and we obtained in this way the required level of matte color and finish for all the three desk sections, as you can see in this image. So you can see this is a collateral effect of the sanding operation that we ran around these big parts. What about the installation, so the delivery on site? So the sub-parts were delivered on site, lifting each part with a big crane and displaced on site area work through a one-way ramp. This happened to avoid and not interfere with other works in progress in the external areas of the museum. Safety, in this case, at max level of attention, but was our little mission impossible. You can see how is very reduced the space in the only one-way ramp in this image, how big is the dimension of each sub-parts. Okay, once in the archive room, we proceeded with the assembly and finish operations directly on site to make the joints completely invisible. And in this case, we used the same punctual procedure for joint lines we know very well for solid surface technology. So in this image, you can see exactly the detail of the edges of two different subparts, and then the final finish to obtain the visible joints required by the architect Zaha Hadid for this big desk. So here it is. So I can tell you that if you have happened to go to Rome, besides the mass scene like the Colosseum or the Spanish stairs, you should definitely visit the museum and also have a look at this desk that is impressive for the finish, for the dimensions, and for all. Okay, so now we can go to the second project. Just a moment. Okay, as I said before, we are this second project is placed on the 28th floor in Banyan Tree 5-star hotel in Doha. So we are in Qatar, where Devoto Design has delivered the works for the Vertigo restaurant. The glazed structure provides a 360 degrees view of the Bull City. And architect Jacques Garcia, imagined and designed a sculptural artwork that reaches 10 meters height and envelopes the bar and lounge areas. It is made of double curved walls of solid walnut wood that unfurl a snake throughout the floor. This is one of the first renders that we received, yes. What about the architect Garcia? He is one of the most sought after French interior designers of our times, with a career that spans 3 decades and walls of solid walnut wood that unfurl a snake throughout the floor. This is one of the first renders that we received. What is happening? What about the architect Garcia? He is one of the most sought after French interior designers of our times. A career that spans 3 decades and walls of solid walnut wood that unfurl a snake throughout the floor.
There is a problem with...
Okay.
Okay, we don't know what happened. Anyway, here we are again.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
We can.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So what about Garcia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. He's one of the most sought after French interior designers of our time. So with a career that spans 3 decades and a worldwide success. He is specialized in refined hotels and residences, and as well as luxury restaurants. As we said, we are on the 28th floor of the hotel tower. And from this position, it is possible to have a total view of the city. This floor hosts the Vertigo restaurant. And the designer wanted something that could envelope the elevators and the mezzanine structure inside. And at the same time, he wanted to create a sculptural piece of work that could be visible from the outside too. He designed sinus shapes and double curved self-standing walls that reach different heights and create a sculpture with a brown plastic effect. What about our starting information? Okay, as you saw, we received some renders to give us the dimensions, touch, and feel of the project. Then a general plan of the 28th floor, and a starting 3D model of surfaces, curved surfaces. Immediately after this, after the awarding of the project, immediately we ran a survey data. It is an important step in this kind of project because we need to match the site information with the 3D model that we are receiving from the designer. It is very important. So we have to, during this site survey, we have to evaluate also the spatial connections, the spatial elements, the interconnection, the interference, and so on. So we have to take a lot of very, very important information that are the basis of the feasibility of the project. So it is a very delicate step. Once survey data on our hand, we matched the survey data with the starting model, as I said before, and in the analysis, some topological problems and critical points were identified. For example, in this image, you can see on your left some missing parts with some wall parts incomplete. You can see that there is a sort of step, so the surface stops here. Or some critical points in the thickness of the wall on the right part of the image, too much irregular and thin to be closed. This is the reason why we decided to proceed in the construction of our 3D model that made us able to manage all the geometry according to our construction needs. And so you can see that on our 3D model, we identified the different types of walls using different colors and classification system. So in this case, for some walls, we have a double curve, double side cladding, or walls with only in double curve, but one side cladding, or walls that are freestanding, not connected with other elements in the space. So after this classification, once the surfaces was modeled, we dived into parameterization, and we started with coding. It was needed to divide the surface in pieces, and this operation was possible through the coding. In fact, the parameterization needed to follow some main rules that we decided. So we decided about the main rules, such as the tile height, and we established that the tile height had to be 4 cm. The tile length, max 200 cm. Random juxtaposition of the tiles in order to give a chaotic and not regular joint lines on the shape of the surface, and the position coordinates for each piece of wood. You can see in this imaging, for example, that the number 1 is the horizontal line identification. 36 is the piece number position on the line. And the C5 is the sector in the 3D surface. Once the instructions were given to the coding program, we obtained at first only the horizontal slicing of all the walls. And then the division into tiles of the entire surface. Yes, this image is very clear. So this is the way we obtain the pieces that belong to each wall. And about the tab that you can see in this image, you can see that there is all the walls of the project. So we are main 8 walls and the number of pieces for each wall. And the total numbers of the wood pieces was about 26,000 pieces of wood. And after this, if you want more numbers, I can tell you that we transformed about 330 cubic meters of solid walnut wood. We produced about 1,114 square meters of surface, and we worked with about 176 quintals in weight. In the meantime, we manufactured a little portion of the wall and submitted it to the client, to the designer, to make sure that the quality, the design, the finish met their desiderata. Then we sent it to Doha and stored it on a dedicated area on the 28th floor. We needed to test the behavior of the wood in such a moist environment to make sure that the structure and the finish were not subject to changes or any kind of impairment as time passed. The second step was to produce and send to Doha a little mock-up closer to the final design details and intent. So this mock-up was a test for the curving feasibility and design effect. It was approved by the client, by the consultant and the designer. And so the production started after this approval. What about the fabrication here in Italy? As we said, we used the solid American black walnut. And we produced it in the quantity estimated by the tessellation procedure that we saw before. In this case, we prepared with the American black walnut, we prepared solid walnut panels by cutting and gluing at customized dimensions. The dimensions of these panels, in fact, were detected directly from a nesting procedure application, through which the singular ties of wood were positioned on panels in a customized dimension to reduce the raw material scrap. This is a process that we used to call the nesting. So all tessellation data through the nesting procedure were transferred through CAD/CAM system directly to the CNC machine for each solid wood panel. So in each panel, all the wood pieces in 3D shape were worked. Not only the cutting in shape, but also the application of the coding. So the coding transfer on each piece, as we saw before about the line, the sector, and so on. So this kind of information had been transferred directly on the wood pieces directly by the CNC machine in connection and in continuity with the cutting on shape work. So all pieces were collected following the sector and the lines of the position related to the installation scheme. So the order of packing was the same order in installation. As I said before, we are talking about little few quantity than 26,000 pieces. You can imagine how was difficult this operation during the packing, so the very high level of attention in order to not to mix and match different pieces. But as I said, we managed all the wood pieces according to their sector, thinking about the installation and following the installation scheme. And we used, for this operation, we used a special metal trolley dedicated to each sector, to each pack of a piece of wood for each sector, in order to transfer directly the wood pieces in this way on site, ready to be installed. Okay. Now we can go on site for the installation. So the installation on site was like a pre-assembly step in the factory during an ordinary production system. All the walls needed to be assembled directly on site, following the 3D model spatial geometry in full connection with the space and all the external components and works there, such as floors, doors, glass, balustrades, lifts, stairs, and all MEP related systems. During the installation, in fact, some marble floors were missing. Not only this, but also the upper roof in sliding mirrored glass panels were being installed during our wooden cladding installation. And this was a very challenging management and dangerous overlapping of the scheduled steps during the installation. In this step, project management proved fundamental. Yes. After the assembly, descending operations. So directly, also these operations directly on the wooden surfaces, with the precision and the attention of a manual operation. This step was divided into different steps and times to let the wood accommodate the climate of the space. Remembering that the solid wood is an alive material, this can shrink or expand in different climate conditions. Before the last ascending operation, in fact, we asked to the site the AC system at work at service temperature and humidity as a mandatory request point, because we wanted to be sure about the final assessment of the wooden structures. The final painting, also this step was directly on site, directly on the surface, and the final gloss expected was 40%, with a fire-rated water-based paint treatment. In this final step, the control of the final color and finish with the control sample approved by the client and designer was constant, or was a day-by-day operation beside the painting work. Then this is the final complexion. So you can see Vertigo restaurant by night on the height of the 28th floor. This is by day. And you can evaluate how the wooden structures are fully connected in a very interconnection position with all the other structures in the restaurant. As impressive, the curves. Here, me and Marianna, yes, during soon after the completion of the works with Restaurant at Work, because we like to visit our project when the project are at work for the clients, for the guests. So not only during the handover step, but in a full working and operational step. Yes. So this is what we
Thank you.
we try to do.
Thank you very much, Marina.
Thank you.
This is what we do and how we do it. It's enough.
Yeah, now.
Now, if you have any question, here we are, happy to answer.
Yes. Also some curious
Comments,
yes,
impressions.
Well, I'll have a question, if I may say. What's the methodology that you apply when you are requested to engineer a project in a foreign market?
Okay. Not only for the foreign market, but also when the engineering is requested for these such complex projects, I think. Okay, let me say that a starting point at first, let me tell you, is our 40 years of experience. And it is a very starting point for us, but the strength point is the methodology in work procedures, which make us able to manage the different projects according to their type, according to their dimensions, according to their geographic position. And but the key of success, especially for the international projects, is the presence of a local office that can grant the application of the same methodology that is based essentially, it is a very strong point, on project and site management. For sure, this methodology is supported by a continuous improvement on the engineering capacity and ability of the company. So our engineering department is a constant under information, under training. And let me say also that when we receive this kind of projects. So you saw before in the presentation, sometimes we receive only some sketches, some very fast images, some renders. Sometimes the renders are for SketchUp, for example, or some 3D model that are not solid 3D model, but they are 3D model of surfaces, only surfaces. Or sometimes, so it is important that we are able to transform this information in geometrical and in
Construction.
yes, construction 3D that is aligned with our production method. And let me say also that the production methods can be variable according to the different projects every time. So, for example, let me say, in these two projects, you saw that we used, for example, solid panels. Okay, in the first case, we purchased the solid panels by the market. In the second one, Vertigo Restaurant, we produced the solid panels directly internally in our factory, because we have to respect some customized dimensions and thicknesses and so on. So it is important that I think that our strength is the flexibility in the management of the engineering application, in order to be focused, in order to identify a production and fabrication procedure every time, because in every project is different, one from another. So in this case, you could think that we applied the same methodology, the same system, the same solution level of engineering, but I can assure you that each time the engineering itself is different, because we have to fix some rules, especially in the coding, in the software that we use to extract all the information ready to be worked for the CNC pantograph machines in production, and then go to the production.
We have a question from Paolo and Andrea, which is pretty much the same. What programs are you using? They want to know if it's Grasshopper or Rhino.
Both. So we use the Rhino essentially in the creation of our 3D model. Okay, from the starting 3D model by the client, we use Rhinoceros to create our 3D model. And then when the 3D model is complete, we can operate on the 3D model with Grasshopper in order to proceed with the tessellation and so on, so the coding and so on. So all the other instructions, because Grasshopper make us able to transform this information in production information.
Yes, thank you.
I saw on your profile the experience with Massimiliano Fuxas for Nuvola in Rome. May you tell us more about it? Just a picture of what you did.
This one we can also answer Beatrice's question. She would like to know if you use parametric design on other projects.
Yes, sure.
Well, yes, Massimiliano, Max. Thank you, Max. Yes, we can just show you a short presentation of Nuvola, this conference center that was designed by Fuxas in Rome. It's a project where parameterization actually led to the creation not of horizontal tiles like the project we saw before, but actually panels, wood panels.
Just a moment, Valeria.
Okay. So I'll be very quick, don't worry. I want just to show you. So architects Massimiliano and Doriana Fuxas designed La Nuvola in 2007, but we have to wait until 2016 to see it completed, unfortunately. Nuvola is the Italian for cloud. And as you can see, it actually looks like a big floating cloud, doesn't it? It is made of a complex structure of steel tubes wrapped in a white, highly advanced membrane fiberglass. An escalator brings you into the cloud, where you can find the convention center, which is the topic of this short presentation. Specifically, we will talk about the claddings of the center. The inside cladding is in cherry wood and the outside in black painted wood. They are both characterized by a curving shape, but they differ in their size, the characteristic they required, and their color, of course. It all started with a site survey. Emptiness, nothing but concrete and desolation. This man on the right is Claudio Devoto, Marianna's father, the founder of the company, and he's actually staring at what would be his new home for the next 2 years. But let's go back to parameterization. As we said, for this project too, it was the key to the realization and installation of the 2 claddings. In this case, though, we worked with an origin point. We identified it, and this led to the division of the surface into the panels, as you can see. So we obtained a grill of panels, a surface divided into thousands of pieces of this big puzzle. So this is the surface of the internal cladding, the parameterized surface, color encoded according to the typology of the panel, because we have double bending panels, straight ones. We wish there were more than they actually were. Single bending panels, and we can see here a tab that sums up the number of them for a total of more than 4,000 panels. And we did the same on the external cladding. Here we're talking about a little bit more than 2,000 pieces of panels, sorry. And this is the technique we came up with to obtain the curving panels, to make them curve the way we needed them to curve. Mind that for the internal cladding, we had to use prefabricated acoustic panels because, of course, a convention center needs to have specific acoustic performances. That's why we needed to find our own way to bend and curve them. So we carved the back of the panel so that it would be possible to bend it once installed on site. If you pay attention here, I hope you can see it, and you have a closer look, it is possible to detect the diagonal back carving on the panels here, for example. And here you can see that the straight panel on the right is being bent onto the substructure to reach the desired curving shape. Yes, because of course we needed a substructure to fix the panels. So we engineered the metal substructure. We started from the 3D surveys to place the pillars and all the elements the substructure is made of into the space. Here you can see both the substructure being installed and the panels being fixed on it. And now some pictures of the installation of the internal cladding for you. And of course, the completed work. This is for the inside. Same thing for the external cladding. This is the installation. And the completed work. This to say that there are, of course, other ways to use parametric design and techniques to divide a complex surface like this into simple and constructible elements. Simple. Not that simple in this case. I hope you enjoyed.
Excellent.
Thank you, Beatrice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Please, just comments, impressions. Has any of you visited any of these places?
Visiting us. Let me say that if you have the chance to come in Italy for some
On
For
vacation,
sure,
maybe.
yes, on vacation, on holidays and so on, but all for work. I hope also this for you. Okay, this is a special invitation for all the class in our factory, because I think that touched by with your eyes by the reality, our internal production department, but also the engineering department is very interesting. And I think that we are very lucky to be in this sector, in this and had the chance to be involved in this such kind of project, but also the relation with the architects is very important, because every time is a journey with them. So we have to start immediately from try to think about, to have a full awareness about what is the design intent. This is important. This is a very important starting point. And also in our sales department, when we have to approach to the economic estimation, because you have to think that this kind of project starts with the sales step, so the economic estimation. We go through with our internal brainstormings with the different departments of the company, try to fix some points, to have a direction for our analysis in order to reach a final price. Then, if the project is awarded, okay, the game has to play. So it is important to be involved in the right way, and also this is a very important thing I have to tell you. Being you all architects, it is important to have a direct dialogue with you, because it's important to receive from you all the information, to share with you some solutions, to share with you some changes or modification, not trying to transform, obviously, your design intent, but try to find an equilibrium between the feasibility, the fabrication, the price of the contract, and so on. So there are a lot of stakeholders around with this kind of projects, and there are a lot of terms that must be compliant and must be verified every time. So this is a very, all this project, I can tell you that is a very teamwork every time. So the team dedicated to the project with absolute concentration and focusing on all the steps of the project itself. Yes. And when this dialogue with the architect is not so easy, or it's not so possible sometimes, okay, we face some difficulties. So the key of success of this kind of project is
a good relationship.
Yes, a good relationship with the designers, so the architects that work to these beautiful ideas. So thank to all of you. Yes. Yeah.
So if we don't have any more questions, comments, or concerns, I will be ending the webinar right here. We have it on our YouTube, so you can go back and check it out if you have any other questions or missed out on anything. But thank you so much, Devoto Design. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Antonio. It was a pleasure having you be a part of this and making this possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.